welcome to the Opinion Center. I'm Shivam Thakur and today it's my immense pleasure to welcome on the show none other than Mr. Salman Khurshid. He has been former Union Minister for External Affairs and Law and Justice. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
How do you do?
Sir, four senior-most judges of the Honorable Supreme Court of India, Ranjan Gogoi, M.B. Lokur, Kurian Joseph and Justice J. Chilameswar himself said, and I quote, "This is an extraordinary event in the history of any nation, more particularly this nation, and an extraordinary event in the institution of judiciary. It is with no pleasure that we are compelled to call this press conference, but sometimes administration of the Supreme Court is not in order and many things which are less than desirable have happened in the last few months." These are the quotes. So do you think this unfortunate episode which happened denigrated the faith of people in the judicial system of this country? I mean, this could have been solved in a better way without coming and doing press conference by the judges. Of course, there was problem, but this could have been done without coming in the public.
There's always a better way to do things with hindsight. But when you're in the hot seat, when you are pressed to take what you believe is a difficult decision, what are the circumstances in which you take that decision is only you know. Going by the stature and the personalities involved, I would imagine that there has to be something of an extreme pressing nature for four senior judges of their standing to have come out to say what they said. I think we should just, if we have faith in judges and we have faith in the court, we should leave it at that. What it's done is that it's brought about a huge amount of discussion and debate, and healthy one at that, in the country, that there are things we need to do. Obviously, we haven't been able to address those things because there is no simple and straightforward manner in which it could be done. They've highlighted some things that shows a sense of urgency, and I think we all feel that the court collectively, the entire court collectively, headed by the Chief Justice, will perhaps be more concerned than any one of us is, and will find a solution. And these four eminent judges will contribute to that solution. And this is both a sense of expectation and a prayer that I can pronounce for the court, and to say that it's so important for all of us, this court, particularly those of us who are associated with it, that we want things to get back quickly to normal.
But sir, don't you think it has made the public lose trust in the Indian judiciary? I mean,
no, I think
because it's a big thing.
That's probably be a little bit of an exaggeration. When the American Supreme Court had a book written about it called The Brethren, when the American Supreme Court was clearly divided on the Bush presidential election, and when people were looking at judges that were appointed by conservative presidents and judges appointed by democratic presidents, these kind of questions did arise. But ultimately, the institution is so big and it's so high up that I don't think that these passing problems create a permanent loss of standing and stature of the institution. And I certainly feel confident that that will be the case for our Supreme Court as well.
So, with regard to the triple talaq, you said it is an intrusion into the personal lives of individuals. Taking a criminal law into family, you have to be careful. To make divorce in any form a criminal matter is unacceptable anywhere in the world. Why don't you want persons indulging triple talaq to be punished?
No, because there is no such thing as triple talaq. Supreme Court said there is no such thing as triple talaq. And the aberration, which was triple talaq, was put to an end by the Supreme Court. So if you say triple talaq is like saying your own name 3 times. Why should you be punished for saying your own name 3 times? It has no legal implications and no legal impact. Now, you can't punish somebody for saying something that you dislike, that you you get offended by it. What is the legal consequence of saying triple talaq after the Supreme Court judgment? And the legal consequence of saying triple talaq is 0. Then why are you punishing somebody for saying 0 3 times? Now, this to me is completely contrary to any kind of understanding about causality, about peniology, about punishment, about sentencing. Nowhere in the world do you sentence people for doing something that's impossible. Nowhere in the world do you sentence people or punish people for doing something that has no legal implications. And to get into the family home, you must have some very good reasons to get into the family home and introduce criminal law. That's what I've said. And you have to justify it. I don't think any attempt's been made to justify it.
So are you saying that there's nothing like triple talaq?
I'm saying the Supreme Court has said there's nothing like triple talaq.
But sir, there is something like triple talaq. It happens.
It's like somebody smoking when the father doesn't want him to smoke. But okay, somebody smokes. If he smokes, you tell him not to smoke. And if he smokes, tell him to leave the room and go somewhere else. Now, triple talaq is even less than smoking. Smoking at least causes some impact on your lungs. But triple talaq is less than smoking. Triple talaq, whatever was the value of triple talaq, was put to an end by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says there cannot be triple talaq. Now, if there cannot be triple talaq, then you're saying it 3 times, 50 times, 100 times is meaningless.
But it is happening. I mean, there have been so many families.
There are murders happening. That doesn't mean that you kill a person because...
But so you can punish a person for a certain period of time for deterrence.
You can punish a person not for deterrence. You can punish a person for killing somebody. You can punish somebody for trying to kill somebody. But if killing is impossible, if somebody is trying to kill a shadow, then you can't punish that person for trying to kill a shadow. No jurisprudential system punishes people for their thoughts.
So it's not about thought. I'm saying when someone murders someone else, he or she can be punished in the same way if a man, for example, does indulge in triple talaq.
You can't.
But it happens.
No, what do you mean it happens? I'm saying there's a ghost here. You punish me for saying there's a ghost here. There's no ghost here. It doesn't happen. It can't happen because it has no legal consequences. If I say talaq to you 3 times, what happens?
I mean, not me in the context of the family.
I'm saying it to you.
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens?
Yeah.
Similarly, if you say talaq to a woman 3 times, nothing happens.
But sir, in the Muslim community, it happens. There have been some cases wherein a husband said triple talaq.
Imagination.
So you are denying the existence of triple talaq.
I'm saying Supreme Court says triple talaq can't take place. Now, are you denying...
And there is nothing like that.
Are you denying the judgment of the Supreme Court? Are you saying Supreme Court doesn't know what it's doing? Supreme Court has said 1, 2, 3. Saying talaq is not a legal act. It's not a legal act. So it has no meaning at all. It has no meaning at all. Now, if you want to punish somebody, you punish somebody for doing cruelty on a person. Now, saying talaq is 3 times is cruel. Please first make a law which says saying talaq 3 times is cruel. Then tomorrow you will have to say saying shut up 3 times is cruel. Then everybody in this country will have to be punished. That's not how law functions.
So now let's move to the Women's Reservation Bill 2008. It lapsed in the Parliament. So as per this, there will be a reservation of seats of 33%. So why not have a reservation of seats for women 50%? I mean, let's have a fair
Why not
play.
75? Why not 75?
But sir,
when you say 33% reservation, you say it on the assumption that some women will get elected beyond 33%. After all,
so you are encouraging by
some
saying
women are getting elected even today. Now, if the people who are getting elected today are not enough, you add 33%. Now check it out. After 33% are added, do you still need to do something more? Then you can do something more. That is no problem. The idea is it's a balance between the rights that you give to women and not to deny the rights that men have. So every woman who gets a seat reserved also prevents a man from fighting that seat. Now, therefore you have to find a balance that you give them protection as much as you think is fair, check it out to see how it works, and then if you need to give more, then you give more. That's not a problem. if you go by population and say, if the women are in population 60%, then you'll have to give 60% reservation. But why are you doing it? Is it that no woman can get elected on her own? That's not true. There are women today in Parliament without reservations, and I'm sure that more and more women will keep coming to Parliament, but we need to give them some help, whether it's for 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, or 4 terms, but we need to give some more help to women to get elected, and that's the reason why we want this bill.
So do you think marital rape should be criminalized and there should be a separate law against it? Why?
No. Again, a fundamental mistake is being made. You want to punish somebody for being cruel to the wife, right? Please punish. But then you'll have to punish a wife for being cruel to a man. You can't say that cruelty is
it has to be
one-sided.
2 ways.
It should be both ways,
Yeah.
right? Now, when you introduce rape into the family, you're introducing unnecessarily, as I said, the same thing, criminality into a family. What is a rape? What is a rape? Rape is when there is no relationship between man and a woman, and a person forces himself onto a woman. That's a rape. It's a horrendous act. It's a terrible act, and it is rightly made into a very heinous and a serious crime. Now, somebody who has a relationship with a woman through a marriage or living partners, and that person then gets into a situation where the woman has a complaint to make. Understandable that something should be done, but why call it rape?
But so don't you think a person, for example, a husband or wife, has any sexual intercourse without the consent of the partner, that is rape?
Yeah, it's hitting a person is also rape. If you hit somebody, why should that not be called rape? See, the point is, rape is a specific offense of a specific nature and of an extreme and unacceptable, unwholesome nature. We should not introduce that into the family. Family life should be kept beyond crime, where it is possible to keep it beyond crime. If you have rape in a family and somebody gets convicted for rape, what happens to that wife and husband relationship? What happens to that? Will that relationship remain? Will you be calling the children as children of a man who is a rapist? Do you even realize what kind of damage you will do?
So I won't be calling children of rapists because there was consensual sex from both the partners.
No. You just said rape should be introduced in the family. So if somebody gets convicted...
I said if, for example, there are 2 partners, they come in sexual relationship, and if the other partner is not having consensual sex, that is termed as rape as per me.
Precisely. Then what you're saying is that I had consensual sex for 6 days, but on the 7th day I didn't consent. You'll be a rapist. And you had children in the first 6 days, then they will be children of a rapist. So 2 children will go through life as being dubbed as children of a rapist. Do you want that kind of family life in this country?
Sir, of course there are, some bad rules and lacunae in all the law, but you can't just say there should not be any law.
Why invite more trouble? Why invite more trouble? If a man and a woman can't get together anymore, sexually, physically, spiritually, emotionally, then they should just part. Why should you punish each other? They should just part. That's the thing to do. Why punish each other? Punish each other for adultery, punish each other for rape, punish each other for child abuse, punish each other for domestic violence. Are we going to turn this country into a country where man hates woman and woman hates man? And then inviting the police into the confines of your home, right? We all know that false allegations are made both by men and by women. False allegations are made. So now the police is going to come into the home and actually examine your home to decide whether the allegation is genuine or not genuine. I think this is the absurdest thing that I've ever heard.
So do you think it is time for India to have uniform civil code? What do you think about that?
Yes.
Should we have uniform civil code?
Yes. Everyone should be cremated, or everyone should be buried. Everyone should be married in the same manner. Why? What for?
So you are saying that will compromise with the diversity of India?
No, precisely. I don't want to be cremated. My system, my beliefs, my faith, my system says that when I die, I should be buried. Why should you force cremation on me? And if I want to be buried, why should I force burial on you? Why should we tell the Parsis that they cannot have towers of silence? Why should we tell Hindus that they can't have cremation? Why should we tell Christians and Muslims that they can't bury their dead? Why should we tell Christians that they can't use coffins? Why should we tell Muslims that they can't bury their dead in a permanent graveyard? Why? Why? What is the need for everything to be the same? If you want to have a uniform civil code, why not have a uniform language? Why not have uniform food? Why not have Mao jackets for everybody and wear the same clothes? Why? What is the usefulness of uniform civil code? Tell me. What is the usefulness? Why cannot we have a celebration of the diversity in which we exist? Because I speak a different language, I don't necessarily become your enemy because I speak a different language. Because I follow a different faith, I don't necessarily become your enemy. You get married by going around the fire, I get married by signing a piece of paper. Now, will I go around the fire in my marriage or will you sign a piece of paper? Who's going to decide this? People assume that Uniform Civil Code is going to be the code of their kind. Why? It may be someone else's code.
So our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi has been campaigning for having simultaneous elections in India. Do you subscribe to his views of having one nation, one poll?
No, to have elections at the same time is understandable. But it's a huge, huge thing. He's now not just talking about Parliament and Assembly. He's now talking about Parliament, Assembly and municipality elections. Can you just imagine the horrendous kind of work that is involved in having elections at all levels, at the municipality level, at the panchayat level, at parliament level, at assembly level? I can understand his concern that we are fighting elections all the time and therefore your work suffers. Maybe there is a reason to have elections at the same time, assembly and parliament. Maybe they used to be in the past. Maybe that's a good thing. But Indian politics is so complicated that you can't elect people for 5 years and be certain that they'll be for 5 years because governments fall in between. What will happen if one government falls, if say a government like the government of Andhra Pradesh falls, will you have to have elections in the whole country just because one state has fallen? Or will you tell the Andhra Pradesh government that the government may have fallen but you'll have to remain in power because there can't be elections today? I think this is an interesting thought, but it should be examined. And I don't think we should blindly accept anything that Mr. Modi says because he sometimes says things without thinking enough about it.
So you are saying there can be a debate on the topic? But
surely, debate on everything. We can have a debate on everything, there's no problem. But we shouldn't assume that somebody who suggested it has done enough thinking about it because he doesn't show that he's done enough thinking.
So now moving on to some international issues. So how significant and important the visit of Israel's Prime Minister, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, has been for India and Israel both? I mean, how has this shift taken place?
I don't think it's very significant. I think Israel is a very small country. We shouldn't have pretended as though we are equals. Israel has a little contribution to make to India in terms of defense purchases. But for a Prime Minister who believes that India should be pursuing the thought of manufacturing and build in India, I don't think that we should go overboard as far as Israel is concerned. We have a historic relationship with the Arab world. We have a historic connection with Palestine. We have a commitment to Palestine. The large number of countries in the world have a commitment to Palestine. And therefore we shouldn't give the impression that we are giving up our history only to please Israel on something because they happen to supply weapons to us. But we should be friendly with Israel. There's no harm in being friendly with Israel. We should have a working relationship with him, but I don't think we should go overboard.
So US President Mr. Donald Trump has tweeted, the United States has foolishly given Pakistan more than 33 billion in aid over the 15 years, and they have given us nothing but lies and deceit, thinking of our leaders as fools. Now, how do you see this? Do you think US is exerting enough pressure on Pakistan to stop sponsoring terrorism?
Has Pakistan stopped? It hasn't. If Pakistan doesn't stop, either there isn't enough pressure or the US is an effete nation that it cannot exert pressure. Now, The problem
So
lies,
US is not exerting enough pressure on
I
Pakistan.
don't know. They must tell us.
Should they cut off all the diplomatic relations?
They must tell us. I have no idea what they should do. But
No, but what's your opinion? Should
no.
they-
My opinion is that these extreme solutions don't work anywhere. If US has relationship with China, US relationship with Pakistan, it should deal with those relationships in a manner which is mature. And by cutting off relations with Pakistan is not the answer. US hasn't covered itself with glory by sending troops into Iraq and Afghanistan and into Syria. And I don't think that we should encourage US to create one more war zone. But Pakistan is a problem, whether it's US, China, Russia, India, everybody have to come together.
I mean, Pakistani Prime Minister calls Hafiz Saeed Sahib.
Well, he may have his own compulsions. We have our own problems in our country. We deal with them in a mature manner. They should deal with them in a mature manner as well. I think that Hafiz Saeed is as much a problem for Pakistan as he is for the rest of the world. But Pakistan doesn't realize this. The sooner it realizes, the better it will be for it.
So China has invested billions in CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. My question is, how and what should be our policy to counter it in the long term? I mean, India's policy.
Why should we worry about what China is doing in Pakistan? We should worry about what we are doing here.
But should we not worry how to counter it? I mean, it's an expansionist policy.
How can you counter it? But China sees India as competition. China wants to contain India. If we want to contain China, we should contain China. We see China differently. We see it as a potential friend. We've tried to reach out to China. There are advantages that China has, there are advantages that India has. We should not worry about what China is doing with Pakistan. We should worry about what we are doing to ourselves. We can be strong. We can be prosperous. We can be powerful. Let's concentrate on that.
So India is not a signatory and member of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty on the grounds that it's a club of few and that it's discriminatory in nature. Do you think India should change its stand and become member?
It's not for us to make a stand. It's for the NPT organization to change. We have weapons. They allow weapons to their club. If they take us in the club, we'll be happy to go.
So it's time for India to be part of that. You think that?
If they want us to go, we can go. But we can't give up our weapons.
Yeah,
we have weapons because we need to protect ourselves. If they recognize that we have a right to protect ourselves and right to hold weapons, we will have no objection. We are not for proliferation in the world. We don't want every country to have weapons. We think that India has historically and physically, India stands different from the rest of the world, and therefore we have weaponized and we have weapons. If they accept this, wonderful. They've accepted us halfway. They've accepted that we are a legitimate weapon owner, of nuclear weapon owner, but they haven't given us a role in within the club of nuclear weapon owners. It's for them to decide. It's not for us.
So China opposes India's membership to Energy Nuclear Suppliers Group, but US supports us. I mean, what's your opinion on that? What do you think?
Well, China has its own reasons, and we should try to persuade China.
Is China afraid of India in international community?
No, I don't think China is afraid of India. I don't think India is afraid
then
of China.
Then why not support?
Because they have their own priorities. They need.
But they are supporting Pakistan.
They're supporting Pakistan because Pakistan is a lackey. Pakistan follows them. Pakistan does whatever they say. India will not do whatever they say. So India and China have to learn to trust each other. We can't become their camp follower. They can't become our camp follower. We have to learn to trust each other and respect each other.
So now moving on to my last question of the interview. So what justifies Mr. Rahul Gandhi's elevation as the president of Congress Party despite performing so poorly? And do you think you are going to win in Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland in February this year?
I'm not a soothsayer. I don't know where we will win, where we will not win. We have a party that we cherish and value. Our party believes that we owe something to the Gandhi family. They have given us many victories, and we are not so short-sighted and not so niggardly that if we get to a short period in which we are not winning, it means that we let them, we desert them. They have given us a very good run in history. And we would like to stand by them. We cherish them, we value them, and therefore we stand by them. This is a collective popular decision of our party that he should be our leader. Now, we'll face challenges ahead with him. I'm sure that he knows the challenges ahead. And let's see as time passes as to how well we can do.
So you are saying we owe to the party. So don't you think you also owe to the country? I mean, not.
I know, but the country owes to the party as well. I mean, don't talk this language of
No,
country.
I'm not just saying that.
No, that country being separate from the party. Our party has given to the country.
No, it has given.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, because of his bad performance. I mean, there are so many other talented. That's what I'm saying.
So what if his bad performances? Many of us have performed.
Shahzad Poonawala has objected to his elevation.
See, I don't want to comment on individuals. I mean, I have some understanding of our country. I have some understanding of my own career. If I feel comfortable with him, what is somebody else? Why should somebody else tells me that no, this is not good enough? You go and find somebody else. You don't. Your mother may not be as beautiful as somebody else's mother, but she's your mother. Your family may not give you as much comfort as some other family has, but it's your family, and this is our family. This is our home. This is our choice. It is our leader, right? And I'm touched by the concern that people have for us, that they keep feeling that somehow we could have done better if we had another leader. I'm sorry, I don't agree.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, viewers, for watching this episode of the interview. We will be back with yet another interesting personality on the show.